Starting us off at number 10, and an animal I only wish I would have been alive to see is a human-sized penguin. Back in 2019, the remains of what can only be described as a giant penguin were discovered in New Zealand by paleontologists. The fossilized bones of the animal indicate that this giant penguin reached a height of approximately 5 foot 3 inches and weighed in around 176 pounds. That's about 80 kilograms. That's a big motherfreaking penguin. These large creatures lived in the Paleocene epoch around 56 to 66 million years ago. They were specific to the waters of the southern hemisphere, and it is said that they grew to be this large after the disappearance of large marine reptiles along with the dinosaurs, indicating that these penguins were able to survive and thrive, becoming much larger over time. The largest penguin on Earth today is the emperor penguin, measuring around 3.9 feet. If those penguins are called emperor, then I think I'm gonna call these guys mega emperor penguins.
Number 9, terror birds. Pretty much sums it up, but I'll fill in the facts for you. The forest raccoons were one of the largest birds to ever exist on the earth, and they certainly lived up to their street name. Once T-Rexes were extinct, these massive and deadly creatures stole the crown. Their jaws were so strong they could sever the spine of a large horse in one bite. They roam South America, and though scientists have a spare few ideas as to how they actually behaved, they are comparable to a velociraptor, except taller. Their height ranged from 3 to 10 feet tall, but also like the velociraptor, they could not fly, which was fine with any prey that were able to get out of their reach. Their supremacy as emperor predators lasted for about 60 million years until they mysteriously faded out 2.5 million years ago. No one quite knows why as of yet. Could it have been the environment that became their biggest nemesis? I guess we'll never know.
At number 8, we have the Pelagornis sansi. 30 million years ago, our cute little trips to the beach wouldn't have been so cute. We would not only have to put up with seagulls, we would have to put up with the much larger ancestor, the Pelagornis sansi. Back in 1983 in South Carolina, the first fossil of this massive extinct bird was discovered when construction crews began the expansion of the Charleston International Airport. This bird had a wingspan of up to 24 feet. That's almost 7.5 meters. If the sheer size of this animal wasn't enough to scare you, you'll be happy to know that it had a mouth filled with pseudo teeth, making it easy to devour its prey. Based on bone structures, scientists are fairly certain that this bird did fly, although they are not sure. Once a bird reaches a certain size and weight, it becomes much more difficult for it to fly without needing extra energy and power. But scientists believe these birds could have also used their wings to glide as well as catch the ocean winds to keep themselves airborne. Seagulls are annoying enough. Imagine a giant one that could also eat you. I would be intimidated, but if they also did that dumb, stupid, like, seagull laugh, I don't think I'd be able to hold it together.
Number 7, hell pigs. I know, it sounds like a biker gang, but once I tell you more about this creature, you'll understand the name. The Daedon is an extinct genus of massive killer pig that existed 29 to 19 million years ago, occupying North America after the dinosaurs bit the dust. They weren't picky eaters, which meant they would eat anything and everything in their path, regardless of size. Imagine a pig standing 6 feet tall and 12 feet long, weighing 2,000 pounds, with razor blades for teeth. Its head alone measured 3 feet and could take on even the most ferocious predators. Scientists aren't quite sure as to why they went extinct, but we are certainly glad they did. Otherwise, we might have been their prey, not the other way around.
At our number 6 spot, we have the Goliath beetle. Now, this doesn't really make dinosaurs look small, but this is the closest thing that is still alive that resembles the size of insects back in the prehistoric times. Also, we couldn't let Dewey get away with just one video that didn't involve massive skin-crawling bugs, right? The Goliath beetle is the heaviest insect currently on Earth, weighing in at around 100 grams or 3.5 ounces. They can grow to lengths of 11.5 centimeters. That's 4.5 inches. These beetles are native to tropical regions of Africa and feed on plant sap and fruit. These things move extremely slow and are fairly easy to catch if interested. I'm not. But please, just let them be and keep them far away from me. I watched a video on YouTube while researching and some guy let this thing crawl all the way up his arm. Are you crazy?
Number 5, the Super Croc. Imagine a creature that can make the crocodiles you've seen look like geckos. The Prehistoric was one of the largest crocodile relatives to ever exist. How big could it get? Well, about double the size of crocodiles today, so around 35 to 40 feet, and weighed 3 tons on average. Yeah. The colossal creature terrorized the waters of South America around 8 million years ago. An interesting fact about this guy though is that unlike a lot of its relatives, it was actually an omnivore, meaning that it didn't just feed on fish, but also vegetation. So the real moral of the story is that if you want to grow big and strong, kids, remember to eat your vegetables.
Coming in at our number 4 spot, we have the sperm whale. Hey, Rachel, you know what I can do?
What?
Speak whale. The sperm whale is one of the largest mammals on Earth and actually also have the largest brains on Earth. These aquatic creatures can grow in sizes from 49 to 59 feet in length. That's just under 18 meters. And can weigh up to 35 to 45 tons. That's a big fish. The whales also have a substance known as spermaceti in their heads that scientists don't fully understand the purpose of yet. Some believe that it actually assists the whale with its buoyancy. You know, its floatiness. They are also quite the deep divers and can reach depths of 3,280 feet by holding their breath for up to 90 minutes. At those depths, they search for squid and other delicious seafood prey. And the bigger, the better, because it takes a lot to feed these things. They have been known to eat about 1 ton of food a day. Me too, man. Me too.
Number 3 is a name I could actually say. Colossal squid. It should be no surprise to you given its name that this creature has made it onto this list. I mean, its name alone depicts a massive creature. You don't get called colossal for nothing. Thankfully, this creature doesn't roam any beaches, but instead prefers the dark, cold recesses of the Antarctic waters. Weighing in at over 1,000 pounds, the colossal squid can grow to an immense size of 46 feet. Right? With 8 tentacles and 2 arms, each equipped with sharp hooks designed to latch onto their prey, and they also kind of rotate on their suckers. Weird, right? So even if you try to get it out of it, it's like, that's exactly what fish do down there, I guess. They can consume fish as large as 7 feet and have even been known to attack sperm whales. Whoa, as some have been found with scarring matching the colossal squid. Okay, so I know that there have been dinosaurs bigger than this one, but it's still pretty massive and it's very real and they do exist and they're coming to get you.
Coming in at our number 2 spot is quite possibly one of the scariest animals to have ever lived on planet Earth, the Megalodon shark. We're gonna need a bigger boat. These sharks lived during the early Miocene epoch to the end of the Pliocene epoch, about 23 to 2.5 million years ago. The Megalodon, made up of compound Greek root words, translates to giant tooth, when boy oh boy did these things have giant teeth. The Megalodon female could reach sizes up to 58.7 feet, or approximately 18 meters, and the males could reach sizes of up to 47 feet, which is approximately 14.5 meters. Female sharks could reach weights up to 143,000 pounds, which is about 65,000 kilograms. These are the largest fish we have ever known. In case it wasn't obvious and you were wondering, yeah, these massive beasts had quite the nasty bite. Its bite diameter was about 3 meters. Needless to say, they were at the top of their food chain, which is probably why they lived for almost 20 million years. Sadly, the closest thing you can get to seeing a Megalodon shark these days are the bones in museums or to watch The Meg, starring Jason Statham. Warning, the CGI is bad.
Number 1, the blue whale. And finally, in our last corner, ringing in at 200 tons, measuring 82 to 105 feet in size, we have the one, the only, the blue whale. Blue whales are the biggest animals ever known to exist on Earth, bigger than any dinosaurs we have currently uncovered. Its heart alone weighs 400 pounds, and its arteries could be big enough for a small child to swim through, and it only beats around twice a minute versus our 60 to 100 beats per minute, which is insane. Despite being carnivores, and unless you get caught in the way like that man in Massachusetts this year, they are also gentle giants. They mainly feed on krill, which seems like a pretty small fish to satisfy such a massive creature, though it may be one of the reasons they get so big. But you may hear them before you see them, as their kips and calls can be heard from 1,000 miles away. Comparatively, a jet engine registers at 140 decibels, while a blue whale is closer to 188. Imagine being next to that when it just calls out to its friend. Nothing like Dory in Finding Nemo. Blue whales are currently on the endangered species list due to extensive whaling in the 1900s, collisions with ships, and garbage debris in the ocean. So hopefully we fix that problem before we lose the most amazing creature on this planet.
At number 10, we have the lesser flamingos. Old Danyo Lengai in Tanzania is one of the most active volcanoes in all of Africa. On its northern flank is Lake Natron, and it happens to be one of the world's most toxic bodies of water. So surely nothing lives here, right? Wrong-o. It's actually home to a magnificent wildlife spectacle. It's the breeding and gathering place for over 2 million lesser flamingos. The water in Lake Natron often rises to temperatures above 40 degrees Celsius and highly alkaline due to the sodium carbonate and other minerals that flow into the body of water from the surrounding hills. This can make the water burn skin and make this body of water not hospitable for plants, humans, and most animals except for the lesser flamingos. They have tough skin and scales on their legs that prevents burns, and they have this crazy ability to drink water at its boiling point. They also can remove salt from the water using its navel cavity. With all that, the lesser flamingo has made this infernal place its forever home. They are also free of most predators, and with next to no competition for food, the flamingos feed on tons of algae, which is the main source of food that comes from the volcanic water. Man, these things sound intense and super tough, even though they are just little skinny pink birds. At number 9, we have the Galapagos land iguana. The most active and most pristine of the Galapagos volcanoes is Fernandina Island. It is home to some of the archipelago's most beautiful and endangered species. These include flightless cormorants, penguins, sea lions, and of course marine and land iguanas. The female land iguana have taken advantage of the thermal heat that comes off of the volcano. Every year, a small gang of these lizards, around 2,000, they even have club jackets, make their way from the coast of the top of La Cumbre and descend to the dangerous slopes to the crater floor. Once they reach the bottom, the females lay their eggs in the soft, warm ash, which is the natural, perfect temperature for incubation. The constant threat of eruptions and earthquakes make it difficult for just about any animal that lives on or around these volcanoes, except for the land iguana. The land iguana can actually sense volcanic activity and most of the time will hightail it out of there before things get too heated. We have the vampire ground finch. Food and water is extremely limited on the volcanic island of Wolf in the Galapagos, so the species that live there have to improvise. No, they don't put on cringy improv shows if that's what you're thinking, and also before anyone gets mad at me, I'm an improv guy, I'm allowed to make that joke. Anyway, they have to find other ways to survive with what they have. So what do these finches do? Well, if you haven't guessed it by the name, they basically turn into vampires. Their usual diet is nectar, cactus, pulp, the contents of bird eggs, but they also drink other animals' blood. Ain't that darling? These vampire birds will pierce the flesh with their sharp beak and then draw in the blood. Doing this means they can consume through the other dead animal any nutrients that they have been missing in the dry months. Due to this change in diet, vampire ground finches now have the longest and most pointed beak of all the groundfinch subspecies. Their usual blood-sucking prey is the booby seabird. These seabirds don't even fight back anymore because it's actually an effective cleaning method for them. Either that or they just swarm in incredible numbers and they just have to fall down and take it. Either way, this one is proof that vampires exist. At number 7, we have the Polychaete worm. This might just be the coolest colored creature I've ever seen, but these guys not only live in volcanic territories, they are also quite the dangerous predators, so I'ma just admire from afar. These worms were found 3,900 feet or 1,200 meters below the surface off the coast of northern New Zealand. It has jaws that project just like the alien in the movie Aliens, so hell to the nah, to the nah nah nah. But scientists found this creature during a 3-week expedition in 2012 throughout 4 deep sea regions in the volcano-rich Kermadec Ridge. They were found in and around undersea vents where undersea volcanoes release hot water and gases. As well with tons of other small corals, fish, and tiny organisms, these scientists found an abundance of new and not well-known species, such as the Mickey Mouse squid. Yeah, I don't see it, but it still looks pretty cool, I guess. But until that, not much is known about these creatures yet, so if we want to know more, we will have to venture into some pretty hot waters. At number 6, we have the Lohi shrimp. The National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration reports one of the volcanoes in the Pacific West spews water that's similar to the acidity of battery and stomach acid. And sure enough, small animals and life forms can still be found down there. Animals such as the Lohi shrimp. Shrimp. Volcanoes are actually rich environments because of plenty of bacteria, minerals, and obviously warmth. These tiny shrimp have even tinier claws that are like garden shears, so they can graze on bacterial filaments. In the same expedition where scientists found the Polychaete worm, there was also a shrimp found that could feed off of things killed by the noxious plumes leaking from the underwater volcanic vents. So next time you go to a restaurant and order the volcano shrimp, clarify what kind of shrimp it is. Coming in at number 5 at our halfway point today, we have the Aleutian auklets. These incredibly interesting birds nest on lava-fractured land because they're so metal, you know? but they have a weird and fun little hang-up with their nesting locations. The feces of the auklet will actually fertilize the lava-crusted ground they nest on and soon will grow thick mats of grass. That's good, right? Wrong. The auklet's survival depends on the land periodically being swept clean of lava. If the land grows too lush, then these birds actually lose their homes. In the Aleutians in the Bering Sea, 15 million of these tiny birds live in colonies that can reach 1 million swarming all over the rocks and circling above like rolling dark clouds. Imagine seeing that on top of a volcano. You would probably begin to think that the apocalypse was happening. In some areas, these bird populations are dwindling, and in other younger, more often locations with lava flow, they are flourishing. How about that? The destruction of lava is actually the saving grace for the auklet, although these birds are not immune to volcanic eruptions. In 2008, when the Kasatochi volcano erupted during the auklet's breeding season, tens of thousands auklet chicks were caught in the destruction of the eruption and were entombed in hot ash. But the auklets came right back like nothing even happened and appreciated the newly ashy landscape. At number 4, we have Malios, the national bird of Sulawesi. The malio is part of a group of birds known as megapodes, birds that lay their eggs in volcanoes. Back in 2013 in the Bronx Zoo, a pair of malios hatched a couple of young chicks, which led to the media catching on to these strange nesting habits of these birds. These megapode birds are one of the oldest living groups of birds on the planet. Most of them are also turkey-like in appearance, so happy Thanksgiving. Many birds incubate their eggs using their own body heat, but megapodes use the magical wonders of nature, and they bury them inside volcanic soils, sun-warmed beaches, or rotting vegetation. Sounds great. However, these birds' numbers are dwindling, and that is why it is important to learn what we can from the few that we have in captivity. Once we study them and their living patterns a bit more, hopefully we'll be able to save them in their natural habitat as well. Starting us off in our top 3, at number 3 we have the Euopticus squat lobster. Remember that little expedition off the coast of New Zealand I was talking about? Well, one of the other animals they found down there around those acidic and heated volcanic vents was the Euopticus squat lobster. These lobsters live at depths of 2,130 feet, which is 650 meters, and depths of 4,600 feet, which is 1,400 meters. The squat lobster of the Euopticus isn't the first known species of its kind, but its species hasn't been formally recognized yet either. These lobsters are almost always found with and associated with deep sea coral. They can often be found attached to bamboo coral. Other than that, not much is known about these creatures because they live at such great depths near hot and acidic water, but maybe if we explored our oceans a bit more, like I keep on saying, Dewey would have more to tell you. At number 2, we have the lava lizards, another freaking cool metal name. Okay, maybe not metal, but still cool if you ask me. They have grayish-greenish bodies with a bright red head, but these lizards can range in a variety of colors based on their location. They can range from gray to green to black to blue. The males tend to be brighter colored with yellow spots and gold stripes, and the females are usually the ones with the red throat or red head. And oh my god, I do love redheads. They also happen to live atop of hardened lava, hence the name lava lizard. The lava lizard is one of the most abundant reptiles throughout the Galapagos. I also just want to add that these male lizards also lift. They are known to perform a series of push-ups in order to intimidate other males looking to steal their territory. This is really good, this is hilarious. The push-ups make the male look larger and dissuades the other males from wanting to start a fight. If an intruder thinks he is bigger and stronger, then a push-up competition will ensue. Weird. I think that's exactly how it goes here in Toronto too. At least on King West, that is. Anyway, if things still aren't settled after the push-up contest, then these lizards will then start tail slaps or biting as their last resort. Still very King West if you ask me. If you don't know what that is, Google it. I guess King West and the Galapagos are just filled with a bunch of hotheads. Literally. And finally, in at our number 1 spot, we have frickin' sharks with frickin' laser beams attached to their frickin' heads. Just kidding. But we do have Pacific sleeper sharks. During that same 2012 expedition, scientists from National Geographic were exploring the Cavici volcano underwater and came across 2 species hanging out inside the volcano's caldera. This captured everyone's attention because this is one of the most active volcanoes in the Southwest Pacific. These sharks were also found just 12 miles from it, which didn't make sense at first because these waters should be too hot and acidic for them to survive. Their discovery down there raises more questions than answers, unfortunately. The Pacific sleeper shark is usually found in the North Pacific from Japan to Mexico, and if they are traveling and living in and around the Cavici volcano, then this is the furthest south they have ever been. I don't know. Sounds like they might be belonging to a secret supervillain who is dead set on taking over the world. Starting us off at our number 10 spot, we have hydras. No, not the evil villains from the Marvel Universe. I'm talking about these small water-based creatures found in the fresh waters of Europe, Asia, and the Americas. There are between 20 to 30 different species of hydra, and they are one of the 900 species belonging to the phylum Cnidaria, which are radially symmetrical invertebrates with tentacles. But the really cool part about these underwater creatures is that they are basically immortal. Studies show that these creatures do not show any signs of deterioration with age. They are able to continuously divide and regenerate new body cells and can basically keep themselves young forever. Remember that song Forever Young by Alphaville? It actually might be just about hydras, I think.
Number 9, clams. Unless their lives are cut short by the yearly clam bake with your aunts and uncles, clams can actually live an absurdly long time for being that small. Some have even been found to be over a century old. Now, to be fair, humans are starting to stretch that boundary too. We're trying our best. But considering how often clams are a food source, it's surprising. Like trees, clamshells also have rings on them if you look carefully that track how long they've been alive, which is how scientists can tell how long they've lived. Therefore, the bigger they are, the longer they have lived. They can weigh up to several hundred pounds and be as large as a yard across. The oldest clam ever found was named Ming Ming, and though she was only the size of an average human palm, she was about 507 years old, which is like, what? Does size matter?
At our number 8 spot, we have the rough eye rockfish. Pretty crazy name, right? Well, they get the name because of the spines that go along the bottom of their eyes. Kind of a rude name when you think about it. But these bright and intensely colored fish can be found in the Pacific Ocean, ranging from the northern part of Japan and Bering Sea all the way to the North American coast down to California. Odds are, you won't get a chance to see any of these creatures unless you do a deep dive, because they live and spend most of their time at around 170 to 660 meters below the ocean surface. That's 560 to 2,200 feet deep. These fish have been known to live over the age of 205 years old and mature much later on in their life. So that means they get to live most of their life looking young, fresh, happy, full of life with all their hopes and dreams ahead of them. Must be nice. I mean, honestly, I can kind of do that too. If I ever do a video with my beard shaved off, you will see a Dewey that looks like he is 12.
Number 7, the Aldabra giant tortoise. The oldest Aldabra giant tortoise known to man passed away in 2007, and she was 255 years old, superseding her first owner, Robert Clive, who died at the age of 49 in 1774. Robert Clive was the first British governor in the Bengal presidency and was given Adwaita as a pet. It is not uncommon for Aldabra tortoises to live through centuries, and some even suggest that there have been ones twice as old as Adwaita who have existed. They only reach maturity at 30 years old, so they age as slowly as they move, it seems. They also can go long periods without food and aren't picky eaters. They can eat almost anything, from vegetation to dead carcasses to even feces. Ugh. With their ability to thrive on both land and water, on top of having a very hard shell to protect them from predators, this species is the poster child for the phrase, slow and steady wins the race.
At our number 6 spot, we have the tree weta, also known as zombie bugs, or also known as Dewey's worst nightmare. These bugs are ridiculously resilient to freezing and have special proteins within their bodies that prevent freezing from ever actually occurring. Although their hearts and brains are not as resilient to freezing, they can die when being completely frozen. But guess what? When they thaw out, they can come completely back to life like the disgusting zombie-like creatures they are and scare Dewey back into his protective bunker away from every single scary bug on the planet. I've mentioned it before, Dewey doesn't do bugs. But you know what Dewey really doesn't do? Zombie bugs!
Number 5, glass sponges, not glass slippers. Don't let the name fool you, these sponges are anything but fragile. Forget centuries, these creatures can live for thousands of years, even in the 10,000s. But for a while they were thought to have gone extinct. Joke's on us, goes to show how much we know about the ocean, which by the way isn't a lot. It's like less than 30%. In 1987, a team of Canadian scientists discovered a cluster of living glass sponge reefs over 9,000 years old. So if they can live and thrive for so long, why are they called glass? Well, they get their name from their spicules, which are tiny sharp structures made from silica, a kind of glass. They feed off of plankton and other small sources of food and can filter enough water in 60 seconds, get ready, to fill an Olympic-sized pool. They also don't look appetizing and mostly serve as homes to other kinds of fish and crustaceans. Though starfish tend to like to feed on them now and then. It's pretty sad.
Coming in at our number 4 spot is one of my favorite things to eat, lobster. Or as a much more fun name, the Homerus americanus. Sounds like Gladiator. I am Homerus americanus, are you not entertained? Scientists have discovered that through time, some lobsters can increase their fertility due to a certain enzyme called telomerase. This enzyme repairs the lost sections of DNA, making the aged cells revert back to being young again. Though this would seem to make these creatures immortal, the exact lifespan of these creatures is difficult to determine because of the regular molting of exoskeletons. Aside from that, they only have one major predator to fear, and that is me.
If you like this video and you are new to our hive, make sure to like and subscribe. We love you for it, and one day, hopefully, we'll all be able to hug you. I don't know. I hope so. Number 3, bowhead whales. There must be something about the cold climate of the Arctic because it seems like some of the biggest creatures live there, including the bowhead whale, who, by the way, is not only massive, but can live for over 2 centuries. They are one of the most well-adapted creatures who live in the Arctic, with an insulating layer of blubber over 1.5 feet thick, without humans, being the hunters. Given that they are some of the biggest creatures, nothing can really threaten their existence. But beyond that, the reason they can live for so long is due to their unique genetic makeup that allows them to repair their own damaged DNA. They also age slower in general, similar to the tortoise we talked about, and they only reach sexual maturity around 25 to 30 years old. So even though time takes its sweet time killing them, humans don't, and they are under the endangered species list.
Coming in at our number 2 spot is the Greenland Shark. Known as the longest living vertebrate on Earth, this shark lives an average of 272 years old. They also don't reach sexual maturity until the age of 150 years old. Now, how can they live so long? Well, with their incredible resilience to cold water, darkness, and living at depths of 2,200 meters, I'm guessing most of these sharks won't have much competition down there. This shark is actually from the prehistoric era, which is proven by an extra gill that it has on its body. So not only do these things live for crazy long periods of time, they were able to come out on top after the destruction of the dinosaurs. Man, these guys ain't playing.
Number 1, Turritopsis dohrnii. Imagine being able to decide, like, when you feel like getting younger, you know? Too old, I'm gonna go back a few years. Wow, when will we have that technology? Sounds impossible, but this specific kind of jellyfish can actually do this. When it reaches a certain age, it can begin converting its cells backwards in time. They aren't indestructible, they can still be gobbled up, but depending on how lucky they are, they could potentially live forever. The creature was first discovered in 1883 and has captured the curiosity of scientists ever since. After all, why wouldn't it? An animal that has figured out how to turn back the clock of time? Now that sounds super useful. These creatures are able to do this through a process called transdifferentiation. The cells begin to convert from one type to another, albeit very slowly. They aren't really aware they are doing it, since jellyfish don't really have brains. They simply survive by how their nerves respond to stimuli, kind of like when a doctor hits your knee with a hammer and you just kick something, it's involuntary. They have no idea how rare and how incredible they really are.